We're going to work with something in your life that may be causing you some difficulty right now, or something you simply don't like. So, for example, feeling anxious in certain situations, or being quick to anger, or maybe something like feeling sad or even hopeless. So, we begin by recognizing that a lot of patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving develop for us in our early childhood. This is when we begin to understand how to interact with our environments in order to stay safe and in order to get our needs met. And some problems appear when, as adults, we don't necessarily go back to revise all of these strategies we began to employ as 5-year-olds, and they stop working for us when we are 35, for example. So it's quite counterintuitive, perhaps, to think of sadness or hopelessness or anger as things that kick in for us in order to benefit us in different situations. But we can start looking at them in that way if we employ the internal family systems model, for example. Within that model, we're going to take these negative things that are going on in our lives and firstly recognize that they don't come from us as a whole, but they come from just small parts of ourselves. And very often, these parts of us are actually not even aware of the fact that we're adults now. They may very well be stuck back here when they think we're still 5-year-olds, for example. So through working with these mechanisms, what we start doing is we come to these parts with curiosity. And we begin asking questions such as, what do you believe would happen if I stopped feeling anxious? Or, who are you protecting by becoming angry in this situation? With this curiosity and examining the logic these parts have for existing within us, we begin to get answers. And most of the time, the answers are something like, well, I'm trying to protect you because I don't believe that you're capable of dealing with X, Y, and Z. And that's why I get angry, because I'm trying to step in to protect you from having to face this reality that you cannot face. And this is where some of these patterns emerge for us. So we might be stuck feeling sad or feeling angry or feeling hopeless in different situations. But we do recognize now that as adults that these things are just not serving us, and we want to move on and employ better strategies for dealing with these challenges that we have. So what we begin to see in therapy is that when we come to these parts with curiosity and actually genuinely understand the value they think they bring to our lives, we begin to be able to form gratitude towards everything that they've been doing for us all our lives. Throughout this process, what begins to happen is these parts begin to release this hold they have and these beliefs they have that they need to kick in order to protect us. Because they begin to trust that us, as the adult self that we are, we're actually capable of coming in and managing our lives in the best ways for us. But for this to happen, that trust needs to develop first. And a lot of the time, we're operating on a basis where these parts do their own thing, and we have no understanding of what's going on for them. And we don't really try because we don't know that we should to come in and get to know them better. So in therapy, we begin to form these relationships between us, the real self or the true self, if you will, and these parts of us that are causing us some unpleasant things in our lives right now. And what happens is we get really interesting and in-depth answers from the parts when we converse with them. And these give us a very good basis for what to work on in therapy. And eventually over time, these parts release, and what happens is we have the space to step in as the adults that have the creative ability and toolkits to manage pretty much every challenge that we get faced with in daily situations.